Get it. Tournament.
Not really stressed. Maybe I'll get my.
Call meeting to order.
Whatever it takes, man.
Item number, for invocation, we're going to have Mr. Matt Spann, followed by flag salute. Colonel Simmons, could you lead us in flag salute tonight?
Can't wait.
Okay, thank you.
May we pray? Heavenly Father, first I want to come before you and just thank you for these servants of our city who give time and working behind the scenes to help things happen and to make decisions on behalf of our city. And I pray for the meeting this evening that you would give wisdom to each one of them, that they would be able to communicate clearly about the issues that are before them, and as they work through the agenda, that you would guide that process. And in the end, we do pray that the result would be our city being a place that is growing and thriving, and it would continue to be that. And I pray wisdom particularly for some of the issues regarding our infrastructure and other things that will be discussed. We know that you are the source of all wisdom, and we look to you for help during this time. This we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 4, consider approval of the minutes of the regular commission meeting of May 21st, 2019, and the special commission meeting on May 23rd, 2019.
Move to approve.
Second?
Okay. Okay, got a motion from Commissioner Ezell, second by Commissioner Waddell. Any other discussion? Hearing none, please cast your ballot. Motion carries 6-0.
Joe's not going to be able to make it. He
Okay.
may make it later in the meeting, but
Okay.
he can't be here for the
All
start.
right, so you're, okay. All right, thank you. Item number 5, awards, presentations, proclamations, and organizational business. Item 5.1, present pet available for adoption at the city animal shelter.
Hi, good evening. I'm Charlotte Ringwald. I'm the adoption coordinator at Enid Animal Control, and my big friend here is Theseus. Theseus is in pen 14. He is a rot mix, and he is about 1 to 2 years old, and he's really playful and sweet. And so if you're looking for a new best friend, come by the shelter, and we've got lots of dogs and cats available. So if he's not your speed, if you want somebody a little bit smaller, we've got some of those too. So you guys are always welcome to stop by at the shelter. Thanks. You done? Okay.
Oh.
Stage fright.
Stage.
Oh, it's nothing.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Item 5.2, a legislative update from Kurt Rogo.
I promise I won't slobber. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Some of this is going to be a little bit of a repeat. I was here about 6 weeks ago, but we do have a few new faces in the room, so a little bit of a repeat. I was wondering. Okay, so last Friday, the legislature officially adjourned, sine die. So they actually ended a week early and then ran a resolution to sine die on the 31st of May in case they needed to come back for anything. But it was a historic year. We had historic shortfalls the last several years, but this was a historic appropriation year of $8.1 billion, largest that they've ever had. Governor Stitt's #1 priority in his first year as governor was trying to put some money back in savings. And I'm going to go through just a few of the budget highlights, and I also gave you a kind of a budget highlight. I'm not even going to cover all these, but some of the highlights that maybe you've seen in the newspaper. I also gave you a list of bills that I'd been tracking throughout session that the governor had signed. It's nice to look at them on paper, but when you get to the digital copy, I know I've given it to Gerald, it's a lot easier to click on the bill, and you can research the language if need be. Or if you have any questions, give me a call. But some of the highlights, Governor Stitt did get his way. He got $200 million in the Oklahoma savings account. His goal is to have more than $1.1 billion in savings by the end of next year, because we do not want to be in that situation of a shortfall again. Terrible years past, so I think that was probably a good accounting move. Education saw a huge increase, which I think a lot of us knew that they would. $203 million increase for public education, which $157 million was for Common Ed. Turned out to be about a $1,200 teacher pay raise on average. $5.5 million for a Reading Sufficiency Act. In addition, $74.3 million for local schools to use on other things, whether it be just other necessities, whether it be hiring additional teachers or curriculum or things of that nature. The last bullet point, the legislature appropriated $480 million in new funding for public education last year. So this has been a great boost for education the last 2 years. It also is the very first time, my understanding in state's history, that teachers have had a pay raise back-to-back 2 years in a row. So historic year for education. Government modernization. The state employees weren't left out. They got their pay raise as well this year. $37 million for additional state employee pay raises. This builds upon the state employee pay raises given last year of $2,000 per employee. So that's probably well deserved. This is an item on the bullet point number 2 I don't really know much about. It kind of popped up. $15 million for digital transformation of state government services to enhance transparency. This has probably been one of Governor Stitt's points that he's been trying to make, and that all legislators or all elected officials have been making, is transparency of government resources. Case in point, you know, I can give you a outline of the budget, but there's no place on the internet where I can find a detailed analysis of all the appropriations on one page. I can piece together bills and build it that way, but hopefully this is a step in the right direction for doing things like that and knowing where agencies spend their money. Also, another thing that the leadership is doing is creating a legislative office of fiscal transparency. They put some $1.7 million into that office. And the state auditor's office received a good increase to hire more auditors, increase the state auditor's office capability to conduct more audits, which they've actually been, I think, doing a great job the last few years. Roads and bridges. Fully funding Oklahoma's Department of Transportation's 8-year plan and restoring $30 million to the County Roads and Bridges program. That $30 million was inadvertently taken out a couple years ago. Almost, it looked like a mistake, but nothing happens by mistake at the Capitol. I think they needed the money. But I was glad to see that that was fully restored. I would invite everyone, just a little bit of a reminder, go to the State Department of Transportation's website and look at the 8-year plan. They have just click on it, you can see the entire state 8-year plan, very detailed. You can see that we have over $20 million worth of projects right here in Garfield County on that 8-year plan. And it's very well detailed across the entire state. They have done a great job on that website to really inform the public. And of course, the County Roads and Bridges program is something the county commissioners are very proud of. Breckenridge Road was a product of that. I know there's been other county roads in this area been redone. Public safety. I thought this was a great step in the right direction. Funding prioritization for 2 new trooper academies. I think what they're getting at is 2 new classes per year, perhaps. putting an estimated 80 more troopers on the road in 2020. In fact, they received a pay increase last year, I believe, so they're building that program. $2 per hour pay increase for correctional officers, which is a 14% raise. Something I had noticed on 132 highway, I'm on that highway all the time by carrier. Last year, it seemed like for months on end, if not the whole year, they had a banner out there soliciting opportunities for people to come to work at the correctional facility at Helena. And it stayed out there forever. And so I know it was very hard for that department to fill those vacancies out there, and I'm sure across the state as well. So this is needed. Almost wrapped up with the budget highlights here, but jobs and economic development, $19 million for the Quick Action Closing Fund, which is a record appropriation into that fund. That is something that economic developers have been pushing for years. In fact, that's a lot of times why we come in second to other states when we're trying to bid for jobs to come to Oklahoma or some company. Some other state has a little better opportunity or way to sweeten the pot, if you will, and land those jobs. $1 million for job growth and economic development, specifically in the automotive industry. I can tell you that just last week there was a team of Oklahomans, small team, that went to Germany, and specifically for the auto industry, trying to make network relationships with Oklahoma and Germany, as well as a few other states in the nation. And so this is something they're trying to build on in Oklahoma. Looked like the Corporation Commission, last bullet point, got a little bit more of an increase to deal with their permit processing for energy development, obviously oil and gas industry. Healthcare, pardon the pun, probably a good shot in the arm for healthcare, since we're a community that surrounds itself with healthcare. $62 million for a graduate medical education program to support physician training for rural hospitals. Rural hospitals have been in the news lately, hanging on, some shutting down. $105 million reallocation to increase provider rates for physicians, hospitals, nursing homes. That's definitely something that we will feel the impact of in a positive way here in Enid. And then $4.6 million to increase immunizations and staff county health departments throughout the state. Another story you've been hearing about: measles outbreak, other outbreaks of where we're not getting immunizations out there. Not necessarily in this state, a lot of other states, but we don't want it to happen here. Okay, I'm going to get into just a few of the bills that are on this list. Some of these are repeats. This one is what I call the trash bag bill, but it's auxiliary containers. Classic preemption legislation. The governor signed it. It was probably one of the bigger disappointments of preemptive legislation, prohibiting political subdivisions from restricting, taxing, prohibiting, or regulating the use of auxiliary containers. A lot of cities have been discussing the trash bags, but the other side of this equation wrapped it all in one, whether it be sacks, bottles, cardboard boxes, just auxiliary containers. And grocers and the bottling industry got together and pushed this legislation, and it was very, very hard to defeat. We tried poking and prodding and roll calling, it just couldn't get anywhere. The governor eventually signed it. And that leads me to, there was a preemption news article in the Oklahoman just a couple weeks ago. I thought it was a great article. It was not prompted by OML, but I've talked about it with OML. It needs to be something that we need to revisit. The title of it was New Norman Mayor Says State Government Overreach a Problem for Cities in Oklahoma. And it was a great story. It was on May 20th, so if you want to Google that. Golf course alcohol issue that we ran into because of the law change last October. That was signed April 10th. I'd already covered that 6 weeks ago. This was something that Mike Cooper really worked on. I don't want to steal his thunder, but it was a great piece of legislation bringing military and wind energy industry together where they have to receive a determination of no hazard and resolve any potential complaints or concerns. If there's a wind farm located in a low-flying area, it doesn't have to necessarily be around the Air Force Base. It can be out in the middle of nowhere, but it's part of a flight pattern. So the governor signed that in a few weeks ago. This was an issue that I saw that I thought was kind of interesting. Allows certain municipal personnel to carry firearms on public property if approved by the board or council. This was a request bill from the city of Wagner, and I don't know that it was really in relationship to the concealed carry legislation that the governor signed, but they had a situation where they had an employee that needed to be armed, and I don't know if that was man or beast that they were concerned about, but that flexibility is out there for you all. Medical marijuana. This was a huge issue that was worked on by municipalities. The governor finally signed that just last week. In fact, OML was so excited, they sent me a text right when he signed it. So a big step in the right direction for that issue. OML is going to be hosting a medical marijuana workshop. I wanted to bring that to your attention if someone in our city wanted to attend. It's for OML members only. It's not necessarily for the general public, in case anyone is listening, but it's to cover municipal issues. Friday, July 12th, I was able to get a sneak preview of the agenda, which is on their website. Changes in the law that relate to municipal government, how the new law will affect code enforcement, questions and concerns for municipal employers on drug testing policies and procedures, ADA accommodations, CDL holders, and safety-sensitive positions. That's not an issue that is unique to cities. That's a issue that is going to be worked on by everyone who employs anyone. I know the construction industry has concerns in that arena. And just a general overview of the Oklahoma Medical Marijuana Authority. So anyway, I just wanted to bring that to your attention. I think that'd be a good workshop to go to. The last thing I wanted to talk about is probably the most important. Something I've been following is the Norse issue, or actually more specifically the Greer Center. Norse is no longer. But this is a shot of the campus on Willow, and there's Willow and there's 30th. And the Greer Center is in this area right there. Their facilities are in need of repair. And what they would like to do, from what I'm hearing, is locate in this corner of the property and eventually shut everything else down. They have a lagoon back there they want to detach from and start shutting down this property and not have to have a maintenance person take care of it. So they, for the last couple of years, have been putting together plans on what that would look like. I don't know if it's going to be necessarily demolishing or reconstruction, but I do know the price tag. And the price tag is $16 million. And which would be a great project for the community of Enid. In the last few weeks of session, there was legislation popped up. Well, first of all, let me go through the appropriation process on this thing. The legislature passed a general appropriations bill called the GA bill that appropriated all of government with one vote, and every agency had their pocket of money. And then they come along with, and that was a closer shot of the property. Then they come along with a budget limits bill, which that was Senate Bill 1055. And the legislature then tells DHS how they want certain pockets of money to be spent. And so you have to keep your eye on that. In Senate Bill 1055, in Section 6, they set aside the $16 million, from that GA bill, which was that 2765. The sum of $16 million shall be deposited into the Department of Human Services Infrastructure Revolving Fund, created in Senate Bill, or in Senate Bill 1056. 1056 created the Services Infrastructure Revolving Fund. So you had the money appropriated in Bill number 1. I'll just say Bill number 1. Bill number 2 created a fund for $16 million to go in, and then another bill, the bill number 3, we'll call it, appropriated the money into that fund. So when I'm looking at this, again, this language popped up in the last couple weeks, last days of session, and start watching it very closely. All of a sudden, I called Gerald last week in a little bit of a shock because the governor had vetoed all of that, the two bills, the 1056 and the 1055. Now, I say that, do not be alarmed. There is no concern that we need to be aware of. There's just no concerns. The governor probably did us a great favor. And I pulled up the veto message, so not my words. Let's look at his on why he vetoed both bills, 1055 and 1056, and it's summed up in one veto message here. Pursuant to Senate Bill 1055, the legislation directing Department of Human Services budget limits $16 million shall be deposited into this fund. This infrastructure fund is set aside for the maintenance and care of the Robert M. Greer Center within the Department of Human Services, a specialized facility for persons with dual diagnosis of developmental disabilities and mental illness. I share the legislature's desire to address this pressing need. However, by placing this money in a fund that can only be expended at the direction of the legislature, I fear that this demanding need will be unduly deferred to a later date. Instead, I direct that this money be expended at the direction of the Department of Human Services in collaboration with the legislature and my office. The purpose and intent of these funds is to address the needs of this population, some of Oklahoma's most vulnerable, Governor Stitt. So I thought it was a great decision on his part. It was more of an accounting decision.
Though this doesn't require it be spent in Enid.
You could make that argument, but we've already got a position on the facility. We already have land.
But under this,
Under the other bills, probably when you have legislative oversight, you start playing politics. And we just didn't want, I don't think he want politics to get in the way. So if you go back to the, now let's see here. Right there, 1056. This is the Department of Human Services Infrastructure Revolving Fund to be managed by DHS and requires reporting on the use of the funds to the appropriation chairs. So what the appropriation chairs were trying to do was control the situation. And when you look at the governor's veto message, I direct that this money be expended at the direction of the Department of Human Services in collaboration with the legislature and my office, and of course DHS.
but it's not, the purpose of this fund is to improve the facility located at the Greer Center in Enid, Oklahoma. The purpose of this fund is to address the needs of this population.
I think what the governor's intent is to take it out of the budget chair's hands, which they were putting a little power on it. And because that's what that fund was doing, was they had to report back to the budget chairs. By vetoing it and just letting DHS make the decision, then everybody's involved, as they should be. Governor's office is involved, DHS board is involved, and the legislature is involved. So he took away the power play.
But there's also no legislation requiring that this money be spent in Enid. Is that correct?
No, there's never been any legislation that it be spent in Enid, or there's never been any legislation that it be spent elsewhere. I think any time when the state of Oklahoma rebuilds a facility, it's always open for discussion. Now, I would say that we have a long history here. They have property, and we have 150 families of employees and patients that would probably appreciate it staying in Enid. So
I certainly hope so.
Yeah. So I do know that the governor's office, in some capacity, maybe not the governor, obviously, but the governor's office is going to be visiting the facility, making some recommendations. DHS is probably already weighing in. If you saw this morning's news, there is a brand new DHS director. His name, I forget now, but Director Ed Lake was replaced as of yesterday. and they announced it this morning who the replacement was. So consider it a summer project to stay on top of, and you know, obviously with them disconnecting from Lagoon and being put on city sewer, that's, you know, something we need to be involved in, and the city water, and however else we can help. So again, I discussed the veto message because at first I was a little taken and shocked, but when you read the veto message, it was a good CEO accounting decision on behalf of the governor to take the politics.
So what will be the next process in that it's been vetoed? Will they have to go back?
Oh, okay, yes, that's a great question. Let me explain that. The money has, remember I mentioned the general appropriations bill? The money is already at DHS. So DHS still has the authority to do this project. They can bond it themselves, but what the legislature did was give them the cash. They already know that
They
they've
were the
got the
ones
cash.
that lost $30 million last year, though, right?
That was Department of Health.
Okay.
Good point, though. I'm sorry, I didn't make that clear. DHS does have the money to do the project in cash. It's been appropriated. The veto just took the politics out of it and put it in the hands of DHS to make the decision with the support of the governor. And, you know, the legislature appropriated the money. So there you have it. We just need to keep our communications open with them.
Are there any other institutions that are looking to donate or appropriate funds to other than Robert and Greer Center here in Enid, or?
Are there other projects that, not that I know of, not that I know of. This was just specific to rebuilding this campus. And, you know, I think it's $16 million worth of construction that I think is probably is needed. So.
I agree with Commissioner Ezell. In the original message, it actually spelled out Greer Center, and the veto message, it does not.
Okay,
So it causes me concern that.
Okay, if you go back to, let me go back to the bills. In both 1055 and 1056, nowhere in there said anything about going to Enid.
Where did it say Greer Center?
Okay, that was on the veto message. On the second page of the veto, or first page of the veto message. There was nowhere, that's just a veto message. The governor knew where the money was supposed to go. It just wasn't mentioned in the bill.
Okay.
And so, again, no need for concern. It's just the governor's way of choosing an accounting method. They didn't need the revolving fund, and they really didn't need the budget limitations bill to direct the money. It's already been implied that $16 million is already in their appropriation, so we're ready to go. We just need to, and obviously the veto message to me tells me the governor's on board with this project. We just need to tie the loose ends, and that's something that we can work on this summer. So I don't want to overcomplicate it, because I went through a few hours of what do we do, and then I started reading the veto message when I got my hands on it, and I feel comfortable where we are. So that's the only reason I'm bringing it up, is to not rile everyone up, but just show that there's not a huge concern at this point.
Okay.
All right, that's it.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. Oh, interim studies will be the next item. There's only been a half dozen or less interim studies filed, but over the course of this month of June, there will be, this will be a big interim study year because it's a non-election year. So that'll be the next thing as well. All right.
All right, thank you. All right. Item number 3, appointments of city commissioners to various boards and commissions. What I did was take a look at, we have several new commissioners and board members, new commissioners, and some commissioners that left, so we had to replace those that were on different committees that the city's required to be on. So I got with each of the commissioners, tried to find out what their desires were. So what we did was make up a list of the mayor and commissioners and which committees they'd be assigned to. So do we just read those? Is that how this?
Yes, Mayor, I think if
Okay.
you read them, and then the commission should take
Okay.
action.
Now, anybody that was serving on a committee before, they still serve on that committee. I didn't remove anybody. All I did was replace people for positions that were open. So, Mayor Pankinen will be serving on the Autry Advisory and Selection Committee, Cherokee Strip Foundation, Enid Regional Development Alliance, Advanced Development Authority. Ward 1, Jerry Allen will serve on the CDBG Commission and the Park Board. Ward 4, Jonathan Waddell will serve on Enid First Committee. That's a new assignment for a commissioner. Ward 5, Rob Stallings, serve on Enid Regional Development Alliance, the Caw Lake Sales Tax Funding Oversight Committee, and the Walk of Fame Committee. Ward 6, David Mason will serve on the 9/11 Board of Enid, Garfield, and Major Counties, the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission, and the Public Arts Commission of Enid. So those are the slate of people that,
I'd move to approve.
okay?
Second.
Okay. All right. Had a motion by Commissioner Ezell, a second by Commissioner Waddell. Any other discussion? Hearing none, please cast your ballots. Motion carries 6-0. Okay, thank you. Item number 4, consider appointment to the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission, Park Board, and Public Access Television Advisory Board.
Yes, Mayor and Commissioners, with the appointment of Mr. David Mason to Ward 6, there's a vacancy on MAPC. There are 2 applicants and 1 vacancy, and both applicants are in the audience. Ms. Tilly Sewell, would you like to come up and address the commission? Would you like to come up and address the commission and tell them why you want to be on MAPC?
Good evening. How's everybody?
We need your name and address.
Tilly Sewell, 1405 West Cherokee,
Thank you.
Garfield County, Waverly Historic District. And I have been interested in the city government for quite some time. I did serve some time on the Metro Commission about 100 years ago. I am recently, well, I will be retiring from the school system after 39 years, so I just want to keep busy. I like to help people, and I do a lot for the community whenever anyone needs any help. I am a member of the St. Francis Catholic Church, and I do quite a bit of work with them as well. So our priest already told me that there's an empty desk there that I can go and do some volunteer work for. So anyway, I appreciate your consideration on this appointment if elected. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks for your 39 years of service also. Congratulations.
Mr. Mike Stuber?
Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager, just would like to address you guys again. I have applied for this board in the past, but have not sat on it. I think with my years of business experience and my years of sitting on the commission puts me in a good position to serve this board and the city well, to the best of my ability. And I've been in Enid now for 22 years, and I'm passionate about it. I've addressed you guys recently and in the past, and would appreciate your consideration.
Thank you.
All right, you should vote for 1. 1 vacancy, 2 applicants.
It's close. Good city.
Yeah, let's do
Park Board is next. There's also 1 vacancy on Park Board due to Jerry Allen coming on the commission. There are also 2 applicants there. Mr. James Cheatham, I don't see him in the audience tonight. Mr. Lee Langshaw, I don't see him in the audience tonight. I know that James Cheatham called me and said that he couldn't be here, and I know Lee Langshaw has been a public servant before and unable to be here tonight as well. So one vacancy, 2 applicants. Please select someone.
Okay.
Okay, on the last one for tonight is the Public Access Television Advisory Board. You had appointed Christopher Sneed and Mr. Nunez to that board recently to unexpired terms. Those terms have expired. They wish to continue, so there's 2 vacancies and 2 applicants. This
Move
is
to
pretty
appoint.
easy for you.
Second?
Motion by Commissioner Ezell, second by Commissioner Waddell. Any other discussion? Hearing none, please cast your ballot. Okay, motion carries 6-0. Okay. The first ballot for Metropolitan Area Planning Commission. First, I'd like to thank both individuals for coming forward and volunteering to serve their city. And no matter what the results are, I hope they will continue to come back and try to provide support. That said, there were 6 votes. All votes were cast for Mike Stuber. So Mike, congratulations, and thank you. Tilly, thank you so much for applying also. Park boards. All 6 ballots were cast for the same person, James Cheatham. So we need to get off congratulatory letters to the winners.
We will, Mayor.
Thank you. All right. Item number 6, administration, 6.1. Award a contract to Scissortail Construction LLC, Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, for M-1910C Meadow Lake Golf Course Maintenance Building in the amount of $126,041.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners, and City Manager. This is the presentation on Phase 1 maintenance building at Meadow Lake Golf Course. The location of the Meadow Lake, I can see Cleveland Street, Roop, and Richland. And this is the existing maintenance building right here, and this is the proposed location. And this is the close shot from the Richland proposed building right here, and there's an existing access road. Some of the shots of elevation and plan. This building is about 50 by 100 metal building, has restrooms and office space.
To approve.
Second?
Motion by Commissioner Ezell, second by Commissioner Waddell. Any other discussion? Hearing none, please cast your ballot. Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you.
Question. I noticed there were two more pieces to this. What's our thought in terms of being able, they can't do much with a slab.
Right.
They need to have some sort of a building. When do you think we'll be able to do some funding to get the building?
Commissioner, $160,000 was funded in the current fiscal year, which there's enough of that to award the base bid, which you just did. In the next year's budget that starts July 1st, you had approved $200,000. So that's it's another piece that we anticipate a change order. However, to finish the third piece, we will have to come back at some point for an additional amount of funding.
The second piece was just get them a place where they can.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. You've already approved that in the budget, so it's available.
Yes, sir.
We used a change order for that.
Okay.
When that change order comes, that'll come back before you for consideration.
Okay. Good question. Thank you. All right. Item number 7, consent agenda items. Do we read each?
Move to approve.
Second?
All right. Motion by Commissioner Ezell, second. Commissioner Norwood, sorry. Any other discussion regarding the items on consent agenda? If not, cast your ballot. Motion passes 6-0. Thank you. Item number 8, recess to convene as the Enid Municipal Authority. Item number 9, trustees of the Enid Municipal Authority special meeting are all in attendance, except for Commissioner Allen. Item number 10, the Enid Municipal Authority special meeting is in session. Item 10.1, approval for claims in the amount of $104,682.92.
Move to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Norwood, second by Commissioner Waddell. Any other discussion? Hearing none, please cast your ballot. Motion carries 6-0. Thank you. Item number 11, adjourn to convene as the Enid Economic Development Authority. Item number 12, trustees of the Enid Economic Development Authority special meeting are all in attendance with the exception of Commissioner Allen. Item number 13, Enid Economic Development Authority special meeting is now in session. Item 13.1, approval of claims in the amount of $7,495.
So,
Second.
Second was, okay. Motion by Commissioner Norwood, second by Commissioner Stallings.
Mason.
Pardon me?
Mason.
Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Mason. Any other discussion? Hearing none, please cast your ballots. Motion carries 6-0. Thank you. Item number 14, adjourn to convene as the Enid Public Transportation Authority. Item 15, trustees of the Enid Public Transportation Authority special meeting are all in attendance except Commissioner Allen. Item number 16, Enid Public Transportation Authority special meeting is in session. Item 16.1, approval of claims in the amount of $3,357.85.
Motion to approve. Second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Waddell, second by Commissioner Norwood. Any other discussion? Hearing none, please cast your ballot. Motion carries 6-0. Item number 17, adjourn to reconvene as the Enid City Commission. Item number 18, public comments. We have one. Ms. Levesque.
Again, it's pronounced Levesque. It's a French name.
Okay, Levesque, pardon me.
Levesque. 1324 West Oak Avenue, and as I put on the sign-up sheet, it's also Monarch Larvae Project, Site 2519. And I'm going to report to you that I have some livestock, 80 head of monarch butterfly larvae. And I noticed in checking the milkweed patch that you have right here in front of City Hall, there are no monarchs, so it looks like the spring monarchs aren't looking for, well, that milkweed is called honeyvine at this point in time, unless it's along the flyway. And the flyway exists not along I-35 as ODOT, and, well, that's a multi-state flyway designation, but it's the entire corridor between I-35 and 81. You will find eggs and larvae along Route 81 from here northward, and they continue to migrate through Enid. So they decided to homestead on my property, and that's worth celebrating because this is only the second year that they've actually done that. So we now have spring monarchs. I also happen to have a volunteer showed up, which is nice because on the Monarch Larvae Monitoring Project, I can sign up volunteers to help with all 4 lots, and they are a handful, and they look like they're a handful. But I think the person who showed up to volunteer was expecting to get paid, and I told him he wasn't qualified. What you need to do to work on such a project site is to be trained in how to recognize milkweed seedlings. Not only that, but nectar-rich wildflowers, which are also necessary. because even if the Monarch's in transit, they need a fueling station, which is what a way station is all about. So I've had 2 people notice that the yard could use some help, the properties, all 4 of them. One I said that you needed training for, but the other one turned into something that is an extension of what I said at a previous commission. And what happened was this: I was mowing. He came up, says, "Let me help you with the mowing." I says, "No, I need to watch for my milkweeds." And he says that he didn't like the idea of a woman mowing the yard because he was just being chivalrous. I says, "Let me get this straight. You don't think that it could possibly be my job? This is my job, and you're trying to take my job from me by being chivalrous?" He says, "Well, I was raised right." I says, "No, you weren't." What that is misogyny under the guise of something that belongs in the 16th century. So you can't tell me that Enid doesn't have a misogyny problem on a regular basis, a widespread basis, and if you take it personally, I'm sorry, but that means that the shoe fits. Now, when I first moved here to Enid, I had this heavy industrial background on my resume, and I made I brought that to the forefront when I ran for office. But when I first moved here, I signed up with a heavy industrial resume to a job shop to see what jobs were available here, and they sent me for my first job to a stinking daycare center. Any one of you guys sign up for a job shop and get sent to a daycare center? No, I don't think so, because everybody in Enid that was born and raised in Enid was raised right, chivalrous. And that brings us to ETN. We have a pattern here where ETN was Pegasus, and it was a subcontract, and the head of that quasi-governmental corporation was a woman who was not extended an offer of a job opportunity to be employed on ETN when it became an employment situation. And I mentioned before this body that was an EEO issue. And if Wendy Quarles chose to sue, I certainly encouraged her to do that, and I gave her all the wherewithal as to how to go about filing an EEO complaint. Now, as long as ETN remains literally a good old boy network, this city, the city status as an equal opportunity employer remains forfeit. And I have an update on that Confederate flag that's flying in my neighborhood. It flew, and I doxed the guy. That means I took the address of where it was flying, only I called him Cadet Lee, and I put that information on the internet. The flag came down. It stayed down for a while. It went back up again, and I doxed him again. It came down for a while. But now there's a new flag flying. It's blue, but it has an eagle head on it. It has the American flag on it, and it has a smaller Confederate flag on it. And all the people who complain about being politically correct knows exactly what happens when you exercise your First Amendment right to fly your freak flag. Everybody else has a First Amendment right to comment on it. So, boys, here's the deal. I will not cotton to misogyny from anybody, anywhere, and especially in high office. I will not cotton to misogyny and point out that the tailhook scandal pretty much points out that the military being part of it, and there's a current book right now called Unbecoming. It targets particularly the culture of the Marines. but I will not cotton to misogyny either. Get it? Got it? Good. Dismissed.
All right. All right, we stand adjourned.
Thank you for joining us for the Enid City Commission meeting. All meetings are broadcast on local cable channel 12 and in high definition on channel 112. In addition, the council meeting is live streamed on the web at enidtv.org. If you have any questions or comments regarding this broadcast, please visit the City of Enid website at enid.org.